This isn't my story, but rather a recounting of an event that changed my grandfather forever. He never liked to speak of it, and it was only after his passing that my grandmother filled in the gaps of what happened that winter night in 1978. They lived in Iron Creek, a desolate, sprawling industrial town in the Rust Belt. The company housing consisted of small, soot-stained cottages separated by vast stretches of gravel lots, slag heaps, and overgrown scrubland. My grandfather, Arthur, had a best friend named Red. They weren't related by blood, but they might as well have been brothers. They worked the same shift at the mill, ate lunch together, and most prominently, shared a vice, high-stakes poker. While my grandfather played for fun, Red played with a dangerous intensity. He was a man of extremes, loud, charismatic, and reckless. He lived for the adrenaline of the bluff. Red had a reputation for betting things he didn't have, and his family had long since stopped trying to curb his chaotic nature. The incident really begins with a stroke of luck. About 6 months before Red died, he and Arthur cleaned house at a regional tournament in the city. Flush with cash and feeling invincible, they decided to commemorate the win. They went to a high-end haberdashery and bought a pair of identical charcoal gray trench coats. These were cashmere wool, expensive and stylish, completely out of place in a gritty town like Iron Creek. They were victory coats, meant only for big nights out or union banquets. Then came the decline. Red went missing in late October. At first, the guys at the mill joked that he was dodging a bookie or sleeping off a bender in the next county. But days turned into a week, and the silence grew heavy. The search parties combed the woods and the factory outskirts, but it wasn't until a railway inspection crew came through that they found him. Red had been struck by a freight train in the older, disused tunnel sector known as the Gullet. Because of the damp conditions and the violence of the impact, it was a closed casket affair. It was a gruesome, lonely end to a loud life. Months passed. The winter of '78 was brutal, burying Iron Creek in feet of gray snow. In January, there was a retirement gala for the mill's foreman held at the Union Hall, about 4 miles from my grandfather's cottage. It was a formal night, the kind of night that demanded respect. Naturally, Arthur reached into the back of his closet and pulled out the charcoal gray trench coat. It was the first time he had worn it since Red's funeral. The party ran late. By the time Arthur left, the buses had stopped running, and his car refused to start in the freezing cold. He didn't want to bother anyone for a ride, so he decided to walk. He was a tough man, used to hard labor, and the 4-mile trek through the industrial zone didn't scare him. To cut 20 minutes off his journey, Arthur took the shortcut through the Gullet, the same network of tunnels and tracks where Red had been found. It was a long concrete underpass that smelled of stagnant water and diesel. The acoustics were strange there. Every footstep echoed like a gunshot. He was halfway through the tunnel, his breath pluming in the icy air, when he heard it. A low, raspy whistle. It was a specific tune, Camptown Races, the song Red used to hum when he had a winning hand. Arthur froze. He spun around, peering into the gloom of the tunnel behind him. Standing under the flickering yellow bulb of a maintenance light was Red. But it wasn't the Red he knew. This figure was twisted, standing at an unnatural angle, his face obscured by shadow. He was pointing a pale, broken finger directly at my grandfather's chest. "Arthur," the voice echoed, sounding wet and gravelly, like stones grinding together. "Arthur, you're wearing our coat tonight." The sheer horror of the moment shattered my grandfather's composure. This wasn't a hallucination. The air around him had turned violently cold, and the smell of ozone and rot filled the tunnel.
Arthur didn't scream. He simply turned and ran. He sprinted the remaining 2 miles through the snow and sludge, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. He slipped on ice, tore his pants, and scrambled back up, fueled by primal terror. When he finally burst through the front door of his cottage, he was gasping for air, his face pale as a sheet, his sweat freezing on his forehead. My grandmother rushed to him, asking if he'd been mugged. He didn't answer. He ripped the expensive charcoal coat off his body, his hand shaking so violently he popped 2 of the buttons. He threw it onto the kitchen floor, grabbed a pair of heavy fabric shears from the counter, and began to destroy it. He slashed the cashmere to ribbons, tearing at the lining until it was nothing but a pile of expensive gray rags. Only after the coat was destroyed did he slump against the cabinets and whisper what he had seen in the tunnel. He never walked through the gullet again. But the story didn't end there. Over the next few years, railway workers and drifters who used the tunnel at night began to report the same thing. A broken man standing in the shadows, asking travelers if they had seen his coat.
If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also send your stories to the email in the description.